If you would introduce the space.
We're the Omaha Maker Group, started in 2010 in Omaha, Nebraska.
All right, and what was your origin like? Was it a space from the get-go, or?
We started out as a post on a community board about the idea of whether Omaha should have a creative space of some sort, maker space, hacker space. That turned into meeting at the local pub for a few weeks, which then turned into meeting at the one of the classrooms at the local university, which was primarily back then kind of a show and tell and get to know the other makers in the community. And then we founded a space.
And have you always been in the same location once you established the shop, or have you done some moving around?
We've moved around. We started out in a 900 square foot box in more central Omaha. We were there for about 2 years. We busted at the seams. We had so many projects and so many pieces of equipment and so many members, and all of it feeding off of basically one or two 20 amp circuits. And we just couldn't function well there. So we moved into our present location in 2013, thereabouts. Present location is 1,400 square feet. It's a former catering kitchen. There's outlets galore. There's a bathroom with running water that we didn't have in our old space. Warm water, hot water. And we've since given the space almost a complete renovation and really made it our own.
And you mentioned hackerspace versus makerspace as a couple of the things you were thinking of. Is there a distinction between the two, and why did you choose maker versus hacker?
You know, the true dictionary definition, there isn't a real difference between the two. Unfortunately, I think hacker tends to have negative connotations. It's unfortunate because making to me is creating something new, where I view hacking as taking something that's existing to another level. So we're starting with something that's already there versus creating something new. But as I said, unfortunately, hacker spaces and hackers have, over the years, kind of gotten a bad connotation, and so we try to not necessarily promote that negativity. So we kind of focus on the maker space.
All right. So what's your membership numbers, and do you have a tier structure and different layers of costing on that sort of thing?
Yeah. So we have essentially two different levels of membership. Our basic standard membership is $40 a month. $40 a month. That entitles a maker to 24/7 access to the space. They get their own key. It entitles them to use any of the materials and equipment that are in our space. We do have a lower tier version that's $20 a month that gets you the same use of the equipment and the materials, but you don't get a key. So you've got to be here when there's other people that are here. We try to have open studio time, pardon me, one evening per week and one weekend day per weekend. So we try to have some sort of public time when those folks that aren't key holders can still get by and work on their projects. We have probably around 45 to 50 members that pay dues every month. And I would say that 60 to 75% of them are the $40 a month, and there's just a small number of people that are at $20 a month. And then we've got a few that are patron level that give us more per month just because they want to see the space succeed. So they give their dues are a little bit more than at their own choice than $40 a month.
All right, so you are not an LLC, but you are not a 501c3.
That's right. Legally, we are a Nebraska nonprofit corporation, which means we do not have an owner. There's no corporation that owns us. There's no individual that owns us. We have a board of directors that operates the space. So we're structured as a nonprofit corporation, but we have not gone and obtained the IRS tax deductible status, the 501c3.
And is that intentional or just not got there yet?
It's a little bit of both. We have discussed it many times about whether we feel like we should do it. Several of the people that are involved sort of behind the scenes have experience in working with 501cs. So it's not something that would be insurmountable, but it does mean that we would have to kind of move up to the next level of paperwork and accountability and record keeping. And we just really haven't been able to identify a true benefit to us for doing that. What we have works really, really well, and we haven't had a need to take it to the next level.
So sort of speaking of some of that bureaucratic process involvement, how do you guys handle insurance and even safety with tools?
So as I said, we are structured with a board of directors. That board of directors is authorized to enter into legal agreements. So we can sign the lease on our space, we can open up utility accounts, and we can have an insurance policy. We have a standard insurance policy that covers our space and our members. We rely a lot on common sense of our members. We tell prospective members that if you don't know how to use a piece of equipment, whether it's for a safety standpoint or just from a productivity standpoint, if you don't know how to use it, don't use it until somebody has walked you through it. And there's enough of our members who have used the equipment so that we can cover every piece of equipment and every process that we have. So we can provide that training to other people, whether it's how to set up the 3D printer or how to avoid cutting your fingers off with a table saw.
All right, and so do you do education for either checking people out with equipment? Do you schedule a one-on-one, or do you do a class for people to get orientation with the tool? And beyond that, with education, do you offer any classes to the public or members in any other format or way?
We do not. We do one-on-one training with individuals as they seek out to use a piece of equipment or to learn how to do a process. Occasionally we will do a group orientation for our members. If we've bought a new piece of equipment and we want to try and get as many people up to speed on it as possible, or if we just want to kind of do a refresher. When we bought a new bandsaw, we did a group class of all of our members to get them to understand how to change the blades and what the different blades were, and sort of to get a lot of people up to speed fairly quickly. When we upgraded our laser cutter and had a new workflow for using the laser cutter, again, we did a group class to get as many people educated about it as possible. We've elected not to do classes to the public because we're all just volunteers, and we really are here because we want to make stuff and we have projects that we want to work on. And we haven't found makers who want to make classes. And if we did find somebody who really had a passion for teaching a class and really wanted to do that, we wouldn't stop them. But we just haven't found anybody who lists making classes among their maker skills. At the same time, there are some phenomenal resources in the city of Omaha, other spaces, other offerings where people can get a much better class than we could offer at this point. So rather than give somebody a 50% class, we suggest they go to some of the other resources in Omaha and get that 100% class.
All right, so being able to sort of refer other people to other locations, what sorts of measures do you guys have to get the word out about your existence and bring in new members for your location?
We do outreach booths and presentations. For example, this Friday night I'm giving a presentation to the Omaha Amateur Radio Club about our makerspace, and that's a real good target audience because the amateur radio folks are, they very often are building their own equipment and they're repairing their own equipment, and they're familiar with soldering irons and using tools and that kind of thing. But a lot of them, even today, even after we've worked with them over the years, don't realize all of the benefits that the makerspace offers. So I'll be doing a presentation and telling them about the makerspace and the maker community in Omaha. And we will have a booth we have an annual robotics expo that's the middle school and high school robot competitions. We'll have a booth there that we'll staff. We'll do a booth at the Amateur Radio Club. They have an annual flea market among their members, and we'll have a booth there. Omaha has a mini maker fair that we participate in. We have one of the largest display booths in the mini maker fair, and we help with that event. And we just work together with the other creative spaces and creative communities around town to create basically a synergy. So we'll send somebody to another space to take a class, and that space will send somebody over here to fabricate parts that they can't do with their space. And we try to maintain that network of creative spaces so that we all are helping each other out.
And so that keeps your membership at a place where financially you're not struggling as a space?
Yeah, we're just a little bit in the black every month. And so, we can keep the lights on, we can have high-speed internet, we can, have our space, and that also even allows a small amount each month to maintain our equipment. We have a tool fund that buys drill bits and tape and solder and hot glue and paper towels and toilet paper and plastic forks and whatever we need to keep the space operating, we can do month to month.
Now, do you own your tools, or are some of them tools owned by members that are letting the space use them?
99% of what's within our walls is owned by our organization. Occasionally, we'll have a member on a short-term basis lend something to the space. But we tend not to do that just because we don't want to get into any kind of situation where either the member feels like we abuse their tool, or we get so used to having that particular piece of equipment, and then the member says, "Oh, I'm got reassigned. I'm moving next week," and we lose that piece of equipment. Now all of a sudden, we've gotten addicted to using the bandsaw, and the bandsaw just walked out the door. So we try to avoid that so that we just maintain consistency among our equipment.
What kinds of things do you want to learn from other spaces as I talk to them? What kinds of topics are you interested in hearing about?
Wow. I would say some of the big things that I think we face on a regular basis is storage, organization. I mean, we feel like we're busting at the seams and have to throw stuff away. And I know everybody that's listening to this just now, when I said throw stuff away, everybody cringed, because as makers, we hold on to materials because that's the source of our next great creation. Definitely material and equipment and supply storage and organization, it's something that plagues us. We certainly crave growing our organization in the ability of having a larger space and having the next generation, the next level of quality of tool. But one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is the community that we've got. The fact that the 45 to 50 members that we have, most everybody knows most everybody in that group. And one of the things that really makes us one of the best maker spaces in the country is that we have that sense of community. So we want to grow to have a larger financial base, but we don't want to grow so much that we lose that personality and we lose that community. So I think that's something that I really would like to talk to other spaces who have gone through that growth, that are kind of a grassroots community-based sort of cooperative workshop. I'd like to know how they grew without losing that sense of community, without losing what made them successful to begin with.
All right. Well, some of the answer questions that I got for that question at other spaces were questions such as, how do you deal with burnout? How do spaces manage the tendency to use core members of spaces like consumables in the shop?
Yeah, that's definitely can be a challenge, because you figure out pretty quickly that there are definitely members who just want to be here to make stuff, and there are members who want to make stuff but also want to make a makerspace, right? They want to be there and talk about makerspaces, and they want to build new shelves and build new workbenches, and they enjoy that kind of stuff. And with like our staff in our booths and our events and things, you find out pretty quickly that it's that same group that's there every time, and you tend to go to them first, go, hey, we're going to do the robotics expo, can I count on you? And you can see where they go, okay, I'm going to do it again. And you definitely can start to sense that burnout. I think a big part of that is picking your battles, for example. We just had the Kansas City Maker Faire 3 weeks ago, and we probably the first time we've participated in it and gone to it probably 5 or 6 years. For the first time since we've been going, we did not do a booth. We just did our Power Wheels car, our race car, because we kind of realized that having the booth, while it's great to get our name out, does put some obligation and burden on the people that are going, and it's kind of unfair. And there weren't enough people that were interested in not working with the race group and being able to do a booth. We certainly made it available and said, hey, we're going to go down, and if anybody's interested in having a booth and is willing to staff it, we'll make sure and help you out with it. And it just wasn't there. And I think so. Sometimes I think you have to realize that you can't ask too much of the members. I think also at the same time, you have to really understand what your members' backgrounds and interests are, so that maybe you're not asking the same 3 people to do the same task every single month, but you can kind of spread it out so that, give some people a couple of months off, for whatever it is. I think one of the things that I've talked about to other organizations because we've had, as I said, we've been around for 8 years. We were the first makerspace in Nebraska, and really definitely the first in Omaha. And we've been fortunate in our involvement over the years to be recognized by Instructables and Make Magazine and some of the organizations, the big name organizations, as I said, one of the best in the nation. I mean, a lot of people haven't heard of Omaha Maker Group, but a lot of people have, and we pride ourselves on that, and we've networked with a lot of spaces around the country, and we've had a lot of people want to try and replicate what we've got here, and particularly on the education and library side of things, where other communities say, hey, we're going to create a makerspace in our high school, and we really love what you've done here, and we've gone out and we've got a tool budget, and we've got a sponsor, and we've got this and we've got that, and how do we make an Omaha Maker Group in any town USA? And I think one of the things that that has set us apart is the fact that we didn't start out with 100% budget and 100% space, and that we started out sitting around a dinner table, and we started out with a show and tell in a classroom and grew organically from there. And the whole time that we grew, we created a community of people. And the two big takeaways from that, one, we have people that come to our space every week that are strong parts of our community, and they aren't paying members. And they're not freeloaders. I mean, they contribute in different ways. Even if it's just not consuming, you know, they're here because it's a community of creative individuals, and they thrive on that creativity, whether it's contributing or just absorbing it. They're not using the machinery, they're not using the materials, they're just here to be part of the community. And we have members who show up and just hang out. They're paying members, but they don't have a project every week they want to work on. Again, they just want to be part of the community. And I think that's something that we really value, is that community. The other thing that I tell people when they're talking about creating spaces like that is what you've described is the fitness center model. You're going to get the best equipment and the best staff and the best building, and you're going to get people that are going to show up every week, every day, every month, and they're going to work on their project, and they're going to, click the hour meter, and hey, I was here for 3 hours, or, I'm making sure I'm using my membership. And they're going to think it's the best space in the world. And there are certainly fitness centers that succeed, but I don't know anybody that goes to the gym to hang out. And I think that's one of the things that really separates us as an organization is that sense of community. And I mean, new members that jump in are, man, they're here because they have found their people, and they're part of that community. And the monthly membership fee is secondary or tertiary to everything that they're doing. They're here because they found a group that shares their interests and feeds their creativity.